So the standard grocery store varieties of zucchini that you normally see, there's quite a number of different varieties, but usually you get the type that are fairly dark. There's one variety called Black Beauty. I don't even know what this one is. I don't remember planting this, to be honest. I thought I only planted golden zooks and striped ones, but this is a pretty standard grocery store type. You can see one side is significantly lighter than the other, probably due to sun exposure, I'd imagine. Powerhouse this year has been the Sabring golden zooks. I'm actually going to let that one sit for another day or two, get a little bigger. One I have never grown before nor eaten before is this striped variety. I want to say this was some Italian selection. The name started with a C. If anybody remembers, please comment. That's pretty cool looking. Slightly elliptical shape. The stripes are pretty apparent. So the golden zooks have been the ones that have been my pretty heavy producers this year. I recently pruned them back significantly, so the plants are much smaller than they were before, and I'm going to hit them with a high nitrogen chicken manure today before we get a couple days of rain. So you can see these plants aren't particularly large right now. There's one that I didn't prune too much. See, this is still a pretty big plant, and I've probably harvested 6 or 8 zucchinis off this one plant. Some of these have been a lighter yellow color, some have been a darker orange color. They're a good bit tougher than the green zucchinis, slightly longer storage life, flavor seems about similar. This one I normally would leave a couple more days to get larger, but like I said, we're about to get a bunch of rain, so it's probably better that I just go ahead and harvest these now, because the rain will make them more likely to rot. It'll also reduce the likelihood that I get out here and actually harvest them. So I think there's probably 6 or 8 of these in the fridge right now, maybe more. I have a hard time going through these fast enough. I can eat 3 or 4 zucchinis a day easy, but I probably got 15 plants this year. Yeah, I just wanted to show you all real quickly the differences between the 3 varieties of zucchini that we have this year. I have a few patty pan squashes as well, but I mainly just planted those so that I could assess differences in susceptibility to powdery mildew between the varieties that are supposedly pretty resistant and the varieties that are just old heirlooms and normally get inundated by powdery. I'm not sure if this year is actually the best year for that type of assessment because we've had extraordinarily dry weather. Powdery is a dry weather fungus, but it does need a certain amount of humidity in order for the spores to germinate well in the leaf tissue. Powdery is a very weird fungus because it's one of the few that can actually be washed off the leaves. Usually you hear people say, try to water the base of the plant. Don't water the leaves because watering leaves tends to encourage diseases. Powdery is one of the few where it's the opposite. You get powdery during dry conditions, lack of rain, as long as there's just enough humidity for the powdery spores to germinate. So you generally wouldn't see powdery in a place like a desert where your humidity is too low for the spores to germinate, but you also wouldn't expect to see powdery in places that are constantly inundated in rain either. So yeah, these are the zucchinis we picked today. I've been harvesting about 6 or 8 per day, steadily every day for about a month now. Still not tired of them yet. It's probably my favorite summer vegetable. Pretty soon pickleworm will be here, and a lot of these probably will get attacked by pickleworm, but I've never really had squash plants long enough to find out. Normally they get taken down by powdery mildew well before pickleworm arrives. Powdery mildew was here in March of this year, whereas pickleworm we generally don't see until the middle or end of June. But because the powdery pressure has been low this year, and I've also planted powdery resistant varieties, the plants might last long enough to find out whether or not pickleworm destroys them. My sneaking suspicion is that the patty pans will not get destroyed by pickleworm, simply because the skins are really tough. Like, squirrels have trouble getting into them. So I don't think the patty pans are going to be particularly susceptible to pickleworm. Then again, the pickleworm might go after some of the leaf tissue, but because they're not vining types, they're bush types, they'll probably continue to produce despite pickleworm pressure. Maybe some of these softer zucchinis will get destroyed by pickleworm. This Italian one is pretty soft, but like I said, some of these have pretty firm skins on them, so it'll be interesting to find out. I also have cucumbers planted on the complete opposite side of the garden as where the squash are, and so I'm hoping that the cucumbers will be enough of a attractant / trap crop that maybe the pickleworm moth won't actually bother the zucchinis, but remains to be seen. Anyway, rain's about to come, so I need to throw some chicken manure on the squash plants we just harvested these from, but just wanted to do a quick video and show you all some of the differences in the squash varieties that we're growing this year. So that's all.